How's it going, football fans around the world, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys my predictions on the Champions League second leg of the round of 16. So let's get to it. Alright, so it is Champions League time. It is that time of year again. Unfortunately, I missed the first leg. But I'm here to give my second leg predictions. Typically, when I do my predictions, I like to just do it over the course of two legs. But since I missed the first one, for this one, I'm going to do the second leg. I know some of the matches are already pretty much done, but there's still a lot of interesting matches to talk about. So let's get to it. All right, so the first match I want to talk about is Chelsea versus Dortmund. Now, this one, to some of you, this may be a no-brainer just by off of Chelsea's form. I mean, if we just talk about Chelsea here for a bit, they've only won 2 out of the last 13. They've only scored once in the last 6 games, and they're currently in 10th place as of right now. It hasn't been going well for Chelsea at all really this season, right? But if there is a positive going into this second leg, it is at home for Chelsea. And not only that, in that first match, Chelsea actually didn't look bad. I believe out of all the matches for Chelsea since the World Cup, that was probably one of their best ones. You know, they only lost 1-0 away from home at Dortmund, which is not honestly that bad of a result. When you're in away fixtures, you typically going against a good team, you hopefully to maybe get a 1-0 win, if not lose by one, but not lose by more than one. And that's exactly what they did, right? And in that game, as I said, they didn't look that bad. It was, like I said, it was one of their best games. They had 53% possession. They had 21 shots, 8 of them on target. They just weren't clinical enough. And I believe actually on Dortmund's first attempt on goal, they were able to get a goal. So it was a beautiful run by Adeyemi. What a run it was by him. And yeah, like I said, Dortmund, compared to Chelsea's 21 shots and 8 on target, Dortmund only had 14 shots and only 2 on target. So it wasn't that bad of a game from Chelsea, actually. So maybe going into this one, you can take that as a positive. But I know for most fans and for most people, it's going to be hard to think that Chelsea are going to get anything out of this match, even at home, just by the way things have been going for Chelsea. Overall, they just can't seem to get everything to gel well, because they do have talent. They do have quality on the pitch, right? You know, they got Enzo Fernandez, they got Mason Mount, they got Joao Felix. Like they got some really good players on that team. They just haven't been able to gel well. The chemistry is off. You know, you got Graham Potter, who's making an average of like 4 changes per game. He obviously doesn't know who his best team is. And it's going to be very, very hard for Chelsea to get it figured out by the time they go up against Dortmund in just now 4 more days for some of you. So yeah, it's going to be very, very tough for this Chelsea side. And then as for Dortmund, they're like the complete opposite, right? They are on an undefeated run since the World Cup, winning the last 9 in a row, which is the most wins in the Bundesliga. They actually, because of recent form, have found themselves in the title race now versus Bayern Munich. They're currently tied on points. They're only behind on goal differential. So it's been a very, very good season for Dortmund post-World Cup. And so, yeah, you would think this is a no-brainer, but I'm actually going to predict a tight one here. And for my predictions here, I'm actually going to go with a 1-1 draw, Dortmund winning on aggregate 2-1. So I do still have Dortmund going into the next round, but it's not going to be an easy game, right? It wasn't an easy game for them at home. It's not going to be an easy game away from home. And I actually have Chelsea making it interesting, because I'm not only going to give you guys the score prediction, I actually believe Chelsea are going to score first. They're going to get a goal to make things interesting. They're going to give it a fight, right? They haven't been well, but I would like to think that Chelsea are going to fight for this game. It's like their last hope to get anything at all out of the season. So I would like to think that this Chelsea side is going to fight. So I'm actually going to predict Chelsea getting the first goal, making things interesting, but I am still predicting Dortmund to get the win, to get themselves a goal, also to send them through into the next round, just because of how good they have been this season. So, yeah, those are my predictions for that match. Let's move on to the next one. So the next match I would like to talk about is Benfica versus Club Brugge. So in that last match, Benfica found themselves winning 2-0 away from home at Club Brugge. I mean, Benfica have been relentless this season. They have only one loss in their league, 2 overall in all competitions, including the Champions League. And if we look at what they were able to do in their group, I mean, they topped their group with 14 points over PSG and Juve. So Benfica have been very, very impressive this season. And, historically, they're just always a decent side in the Champions League. They're one of those teams that can always cause an upset, that can always, mix things up a bit. They're a really good, respectable side, and it's just hard for me to see this team losing it, to be completely honest. We got Club Brugge. They're a decent side as well. My team has faced them a few times in groups before. They always give a good fight. They have good quality, but they just haven't been the same, I believe, this season. Although they did have a good Champions League group stage, they were able to get second in their group behind Porto, and they only actually ended up losing once that whole group stage, so they were able to do well there. But if we look at them in the league, they're in 4th place as of right now. They're 20 points off the top, and that's just unlike this Club Brugge team, right? As of recent years, they're always a team who's either in first or battling out for first. They just seem to have a really up and down season this year. And so, yeah, the fact that they lost 2-0 at home, it's hard for me to see them do anything at all away from home, especially up against a team like Benfica, who's having a brilliant season this year. So yeah, for my predictions, I'm going to go with a 2-1 win from Benfica. Club Brugge, they're going to fight. They're going to give it their all. They have nothing to lose, really, so we might see things open up a bit, but I expect Benfica to, for the most part, be in control of this match. And yeah, I got them winning 2-1, which would them have them going through 4-1 on aggregate. That's my predictions. Let's move on. The next match that we have here is Tottenham versus AC Milan. Now, this is more of an interesting one. This is going to be a tight one. This really, really is. Maybe, possibly, right? And the reason being is because although AC Milan are obviously the favorites, they got the 1-0 win at home in the first leg, AC Milan themselves are having somewhat of an up and down season. They're not in the title race at all, mostly due to just how fantastic Napoli have been this season. But they've been a bit up and down. Now, recent form, they've actually done very, very well. They got a clean sheet in their last 4 matches. So going into this game, they're coming in pretty hot. But if we still look at this season, they're still pretty much up and down, kind of like how Tottenham is, right? Like, this team actually went on a 4-game losing streak before they went on a 4-game winning streak. So who knows what AC Milan we're going to get? Is it going to be the AC Milan that defends well, that can nick a goal or two, or is it going to be the AC Milan that's totally open and there for the taking? Because although Spurs are Spurs, and although Spurs are like Milan this season but on crack, and don't look too much into the comparison. I know AC Milan historically are a way better side than Tottenham are, so I'm not comparing that. I'm just comparing these two this season. And this season, both these two teams have been somewhat similar, because Tottenham are like Milan this season but on crack, and that's how they are every season, right? I mean, if we look at Tottenham, they were able to top their group in the Champions League, but they can go on and beat Manchester City 1-0, and then a few days later they'll lose 4-1 to Leicester, and then they can go on to beat West Ham and Chelsea back-to-back 2-0, and then they go on to lose championship side Sheffield just a few days later. So this Tottenham side, we all know what they're like. You never know what you're gonna get from them. They're like that one saying, the box of chocolates. You just never know what you're gonna get. Yeah, it's kind of hard to predict this fixture, because Tottenham going forward can actually be really, really good, right? Like Kulusevski, Harry Kane, and Son, although they've been a bit lackluster this year and they haven't been at their best, when they are going, they're a front three to be reckoned with, right? Like, this front three can be one of the best in the world when they get going, but they just haven't been able to really get things going this season. So which team are we going to see? Who knows? But if I had to put my money on a team to win, it has to be with AC Milan. So for this match, I'm going to predict a 2-2 draw. AC Milan going through 3-2 on aggregate. Now, I know the last game was short of goals, but if there's one thing Tottenham can do, they can really make they can really make a match interesting, right? Like I can see Tottenham getting maybe the first goal, maybe even the first 2 goals, and then them just being totally open defensively and then end up losing it. So that's why I'm going for a 2-2, or maybe it's just back and forth. Who knows? But that's my predictions. AC Milan going through. Let's move on. Now, the next match I want to talk about, this is also an interesting tight one. We got Porto versus Inter. And Inter were able to win 1-0 at their home. They are now coming to Porto's home. And like I said, this is going to be a tough one, right? We got Porto here who topped their Champions League group. And historically, they're always really tough and always really good in the Champions League, right? They're always that team that end up upsetting a big team. Like, they are always an annoying-ass team to play against. I really respect them in this tournament. And then we got Inter Milan, who've had an up-and-down season. Just like AC Milan, they're nowhere near a title race. It's basically just up for top 4, who's going to make top 4. And it's tough to say who's going to win this match because, like I said, we got Porto, who historically in this tournament are very, very good. So the fact that they only lost 1-0 away from home, I'm sure they're taking that as a positive. You know, I know they'll be up for it at their home. But what I will say about Porto is that if we look at their last few matches, they have really lost their heads in those last 2 games. They lost the match versus Inter, ended up getting a red card there, and then they had an upset versus Gil Vicente, and they ended up getting 2 red cards there. So in the past 2 matches, they have picked up 3 red cards. So things have really flipped on Porto here. So who knows which side we're going to get coming in that Inter match. Now, they do have 2 matches before the Inter game to kind of pick up a bit of form, pick up some momentum at the time of recording, right? The time of recording is March 2nd. So at the time of recording, you know, they're on some bad form. So who knows what kind of game this is going to be. I feel like this is going to be a game. I feel like this could be a very, very interesting game. And for my prediction, I am going to be going with this is going to be somewhat similar to my last prediction. I'm going to go with a 2-1 win for Porto at home. Then I'm going to have Porto winning in overtime to then win the game 3-1. So that's my predictions. I got Porto coming out, going into the next round. I originally was going to go with Inter, but for whatever reason, something in me is just telling me that Porto is going to find a way. For whatever reason. I don't know what it is. But yeah, that's my predictions. Let's move on. So the next game to talk about is the one that I'm most interested in. And that is because it is Manchester City versus RB Leipzig. Now is it a tough one to predict? It shouldn't be, right? Manchester City should come out of this as winners. And this is no disrespect to Leipzig. Leipzig are a very, very good team. But with the quality and the talent that Manchester City have, they shouldn't struggle. They really shouldn't, right? I'm not saying they should ease through it, blow out Leipzig. No, that was never my thought. But it should be more comfortable than what it is. And I'm hoping that it ends up being that way. But I like to compare Manchester City to a ticking time bomb when it comes to the Champions League. You don't know when it's going to happen. You just know that it's going to happen. It's going to end up blowing in our faces. They're going to end up shitting the bed. And it's just a matter of time, right? Like, it could be the quarterfinals. It could be the round of 16. It could be the semifinals. It could be the finals. You don't know when, but it's going to happen. And I would like to think and hope that it's not going to be so soon, that it's not going to be in the round of 16. But who knows, man? We're going up against a very, very tough Leipzig team. They've only lost once in the last 5 months. That right there just sounds ridiculous. Like, this team has been so good since October, I believe. And not only that, if we look at their recent games, their defense has been fantastic with the likes of Vardiol, I think that's how you say it. And yeah, they've been good. Not only that, Vardiol was able to dunk on Ruben Diaz's head to end up tying the game in the first leg. Like, it's a scary team to think about, especially for a Manchester City team, especially for a Pep Guardiola side who tend to struggle against teams that are happy to sit back wait for their time, wait for the moment, maybe even wait for the last 10 minutes of the game and really go for it. Like it's somewhat of a scary matchup for us, and that's my worry. That is really my worry, right? But for my predictions, I'm still gonna have Manchester going through, and for this second leg game, I'm gonna have Manchester City winning it 2-0 to bring him to a total on aggregate of 3-1 Manchester City going through. Now, if we're going to do this, we have to have more intent in this game. I was going to end up posting a match reaction to the first leg, but I thought it was such a pathetic game for Manchester City. I didn't think it deserved my time, and it definitely didn't deserve your guys' time, right? Like, that's how pathetic Manchester City were in the first legs. And shout out to Leipzig for staying disciplined, for not, falling for Manchester City's BS. It wasn't that hard to defend anyways, but still, sometimes, you can get a bit impatient, especially when Manchester City are just playing possession in front of your face, and you're just thinking to yourself, yo, what the hell are y'all doing? Y'all trying to score, or what is this? Is this a training session? Like, that is how I felt watching it. Like, it was so annoying to freaking watch. I can't believe I spent my time watching that shit. Like, that's how bad it was. But if we are going to win this game, and what I hope Manchester City come out and do this time, we have to go forward more. We have to have more intent going forward, right? We can have all the possession in the world, but it doesn't mean jack squat if we don't do anything with it. So hopefully in this game, we're able to find Haaland in this game, or just even look at him, right? Like in that last game, we weren't even looking at him. So that's what we're going to have to do. Leipzig, they're going to bring their energy. They're going to be fully focused. But it's at our home. It's at the Etihad. And so for that, I am somewhat confident that Manchester City is going to come out this victorious. So that's my prediction. 2-0 second leg. Total of aggregate on 3-1. Let's move on. Right, so the next game I'd like to talk about is Napoli versus Frankfurt. Now, this is one that we can kind of blow through. Napoli, they have been probably the best team in form in all of Europe. Like, that's how good they've been. They're almost 20 points clear in their league. They've only lost once in Serie A. Like, this team is flying. They topped their Champions League group. It's one of the scariest teams in Europe as of right now. And if there's two teams I don't want to go up against, if Manchester City are to go through next round, it's Real Madrid and Napoli. Like, that's just how good they've been. The likes of Ozzy, man, he's been fantastic. If it wasn't for a guy named Haaland, he would definitely be getting all the headlines, and he's still getting, to be fair to him, a lot. They've been very, very good this season, and this is no disrespect to Frankfurt. You guys did well to even get in this tournament. You ended up winning the Europa League after finishing like 10th or 11th in your league. You're right now, I believe, 6th in the league right now. So it's not a bad season for y'all, right? Like, this is a decent, good season. The fact that you're even in the talks of the Champions League, I'm sure that makes your guys proud. But yeah, you guys lost 2-0 at home. And for me, there's just no way I can see you guys going to Napoli and getting a result to get you guys through into the next round. So for my predictions for this game, I am going to go with a 1-0 win for Napoli. They're going to be in control. They're not going to take it easy, but they're going to do what is needed to be done to get through. They'll get a goal to make things comfortable so that they can then coast through the rest of the match. I have them winning 1-0, which then would bring them overall 3-0 on aggregate. Let's now move on. So the next match I would like to talk about is Real Madrid versus Liverpool. Now, I know Liverpool fans, you're probably not even watching this video. One reason is because I don't get that many views, and the next reason is because why would you, right? You lost 5-2 at Anfield. Like, that was shocking. Even though Liverpool have had their struggles this season, but they went up 2-0 at Anfield. In the first 15 minutes of the game, Liverpool found themselves 2-0 up. And I don't care how bad a Liverpool team is doing that season. If they're up 2-0 at Anfield, it's over, right? You can dust your hands off. The game is over. Turn the TV off, unless you're a Liverpool fan, of course, and get on with your day, because you're not coming back. You're not coming back. To come back at Anfield, it's ridiculous. We don't see that ever. I don't know if I've ever seen that. I don't know if I've ever seen a team comeback like that at Anfield. I can't obviously remember one. I'm sure there's been other times, but rare, right? Like it's unheard of. But if there's a team to do it, it is Champions League kings, royalty, gods. It's Real Madrid. You can never count this team out. You never can. Now, when they were up 2-0, I didn't think the tie was over. I knew there was still a game to be played at the Bernabeu. So I didn't think this tie was over. But I definitely did think that the game was over. You know, at max, I thought maybe Liverpool would maybe get a goal back and they lose maybe 2-1. But never in my head did I think that they could get 3, 4, or 5. Like, that just, it doesn't even make sense to me. But yet they did. It's just ridiculous, right? Like, this Real Madrid are obviously Champions League favorites. You know, the last few seasons, I didn't think they were, but that was silly of me to think that. Like, it doesn't matter who is playing for this Real Madrid. As long as the jersey has a Real Madrid badge on it, they're the favorites, no matter what. I don't care how good another team is doing. I don't care if they haven't lost once. I don't care if they're averaging 10 goals a game. If Real Madrid are in the Champions League, which they always are, they are the favorites. They've proven it time and time again. It would be silly for me to think otherwise, and for you. So yeah, what is there to be said? I can honestly see Liverpool going into the Bernabeu and making things interesting, maybe getting a goal or two, but we know what the end result is going to be, right? Real Madrid, they're going to come out on top. Liverpool can get 4 goals, and Real Madrid will just get the goal that they need to find themselves through. Like, that's just who they are. They will always find a way to win. So yeah, my predictions for this match, I don't know. Let's say something ridiculous. Let's go 4-3 Liverpool. Or you know what? Let's make it even more interesting. Let's go 4-2 for Liverpool. Real Madrid winning 7-6 on aggregate. Let's go with that. That's my predictions for this game. Like, that's just how ridiculous these games can get for two teams like this. So I saved this match for last, even though it's not one of the last games to happen. You guys all know what I'm talking about. I saved the best for last. Bayern Munich versus PSG. So this game, Bayern Munich was able to win 1-0 away from home, so at PSG. And the first half was honestly a snooze fest, right? Like, not much was going on. Bayern, you know, they were kind of dominating in terms of possession, but nothing interesting was really happening. Now, when the second half came, that's when things started to heat up. We've seen Bayern create more clear-cut chances, and they earned themselves a goal. And from there on out, I thought, okay, this game is over. Bayern Munich are obviously dominating. They're creating the best of chances. I was surprised that they honestly didn't even get a second. And from there on out, I thought, okay, they're going to come out this game with at least a 1-0 win, and then they'll go to Bayern and end things, right? Like, there's not much of a chance for PSG. But silly of me to think that, because as soon as Mbappe found his way onto the field, things flipped like that. Like, it was scary how much the game changed as soon as Mbappe came in. And it shouldn't be a shock to us, right? Like, we're talking about a guy that has already gotten a World Cup, that almost carried his nation to a second World Cup against the GOAT himself, Messi. Like, this guy is honestly ridiculous. We all know the talent he has, so no really to get that deep into it. But when he came in that game, he almost got himself a goal, right? Like, he was this close away from tying it. If it wasn't for a VAR overruling, then PSG would have earned themselves a 1-1 draw. And I was only surprised that he didn't get himself a goal, because when he got in, he was so lively. Like, he was giving those Bayern Munich defenders hell. Like, he's so quick, he's so fast, and man, does he know how to strike a ball. And like I said, he just changes games like that. Like, honestly, I think Bayern Munich overall have a way better team. They're way more consistent. And, you know, they're one of the Champions League heavyweights when it comes to this tournament. So you would think that Bayern would come out on this, but with Mbappe on the field, you just never know. You really, really don't. He can flip games just like that. He can win games by himself. And guess what? I haven't even mentioned Lionel Messi, the GOAT himself. Now, Messi, I do know that for PSG, he hasn't been that fantastic, honestly. He has fantastic moments, but consistently, you know, there's a lot of times where he can disappear from matches. And to me, it just doesn't seem like I don't want to say a professional is not trying, but there's a difference between Messi with Barcelona, Messi with Argentina, and Messi with PSG. There just is. But still, he's still the GOAT. And with one kick of the ball, he can change a game like that. He can win a game like that. We've seen it with his free kick not too long ago. So if he really wants to, then he himself can even win the game by himself. So this one's hard to predict. But again, if I had to put my money on someone, I'm going to go with Bayern. And the reason being is just because, like I said, we got Bayern, who historically always do well in this tournament. And then as for PSG, yes, do they have a lethal front three? And actually, they're not even going to be playing with Neymar, right? Like, he's injured, so I don't even think he's going to be playing that game. So they're going to be missing Neymar. And Messi and Mbappe are enough to do it themselves, but they have a solid defense. But in the midfield, it is shit. It is almost non-existent. And when you don't got a midfield that is stringing the pieces together, you have a broken team. And that's exactly how I'd like to explain PSG every season. They are a broken team. You know, historically, they've had players who mentalities just aren't right. They never seem to get things right. And I know I'm not one to talk, right? Like, my team themselves can just never get it right in the Champions League. But PSG, for me, they're even worse. So for this match, I am going to go with a 2-1 win to Bayern. Bayern winning it on... Actually, no. Mbappe is going to be on the field. So let's go with a 2-2 draw. Let's go with a... I feel like I've already predicted that a few times. Well, the more I predict it, then the more likely it's going to happen to at least one of those teams. So then I can come out and look like a genius. So I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw for Bayern Munich and PSG. You know, Mbappe's on the field, so I can honestly see him getting himself 2 goals. He's gonna get his, right? He may not be able to make the team win, but he's gonna get his. So I'm gonna go with a 2-2 draw. Bayern Munich winning it on aggregate 3-2. All right, so yeah, those are my Champions League predictions. Like always, let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Let me know where you think I've gone wrong. And let me know where you think I've got it right. I'm totally up for debate. Say whatever is under the sun. To me, I don't care. I just want to hear your guys' opinion. So yeah, and also before we go, I have a friend who I make content with. His channel is called Football Experience. I'm going to put a photo of it up here, and I'll also link it down in my description. If you want to hear some hot topics, some interesting topics, go ahead and check his channel out. He makes footballing content. And also, if you just love me so much and want to see more of me, well, I'm on his channel, I believe, twice now. So yeah, go ahead and check his channel out. They have some really nice videos on there, over there. So yeah, other than that, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.